Hi, this is Frank Taylor with Nature at Your Door, and I'm here in this suburban yard to talk about some more of the meadow plants. There's some sections here that are infrequently mowed, and this allows some of these meadow plants to come up. I've been doing a series on the plants that you'll find roadside or in local meadows throughout North America, including things like chicory, Queen Anne's lace, mullein, teasel, thistle, Joe Pye weed, and ironweed. Here I found yarrow flowering in this yard, and I thought this is a perfect opportunity to share with you about this fascinating plant and its medicinal uses that have been used for over 60,000 years. A Neanderthal grave was found where the body was laid in a bed of yarrow plants, indicating its value and importance to the culture that was here 60,000 years ago. Many of you know the story of Achilles. The scientific name of this plant is Achilles millifolia, and Achilles was said to have carried this in battle. It's written about by Homer in the Iliad, and it was part of the battle plan because this plant could stem and stop bleeding. Let's investigate deeper into the ecology and ethnobotany of this plant and how it might fit in your native butterfly gardens and your native plant gardens. Right here in your backyard. You never know what you're going to find. Let's talk about how to identify yarrow and a little bit about its scientific name. So the scientific name of yarrow species is Achilles millifolia. And as I said in the intro, it goes to Achilles because it really does have astringent, hemostatic, and antiseptic properties to it. So the name Achilles is assigned because of its special properties. Millifolium, well, folium means leaves, and milli means thousand. So this means thousand-leaved, which is fitting because the plant's leaves are so finely divided. The plant looks a little bit like Queen Anne's lace because of the flat-topped clusters of flowers. The flowers look different, and they never have the purple flower in the center that many Queen Anne's lace plants may have. And you'll see that the leaves are much more finely divided than Queen Anne's lace. The kicker here is if you crush the leaves up and smell them, it is such a strong and distinctive, unmistakable aromatic smell. Just amazing. Compare that to Queen Anne's lace, and Queen Anne's lace smells like wild carrot. So Queen Anne's lace smells distinctly like wild carrot, and yarrow smells distinctly aromatic. Yarrow is a perennial, so it comes back every year and it spreads by stolons across the ground. Here you can see a large patch of yarrow growing closely together. Much of this is probably from a single plant that's spread out from the original plant. Technically, yarrow is edible, but there are a few people that are actually allergic to it and can be allergic to it by the touch. So it's a funny thing about some of these wild plants. Not all people respond to them in the same way. Yarrow has over 100 identified chemicals that make it up, many of them pharmaceutically active alkaloids. So anything like that can have toxic properties if ingested in large quantities. So it's more recommended if you want to eat it, use it as a flavoring in a salad, use it as a flavoring in a stew, and just put a few leaves in, more as you would a spice rather than making a whole salad out of it. Achilles millifolia was at first thought to have come from Europe because it exists in Europe and it exists as the same species. But geneticists have found that there are North American genotypes. So it is also native to North America, and there's particular genotypes that make it one of our native plants. So medicinally, with a history that goes back 60,000 years, both in European culture as well as North American indigenous peoples or Native American cultures, they use this for thousands of years. It has many, many different medicinal uses, and it's in many, many different medicinal recipes to treat all sorts of different things, which to me it's a little bit contradictory, but it's amazing how it's used. Many document uses by indigenous peoples or Native American tribes. Some of these were very specific to different tribes. They're used to treat fever, digestive issues, menstrual issues, sleep problems, headaches, and both in North America and in Europe, it was used to stem bloody wounds and heal wounds and stop bleeding. Its astringent properties are documented by science, as well as some of its antiseptic and hemostatic properties. And it's so interesting that in both continents, it was used to stem bleeding. There are so many individual anecdotal stories about healing and medicinal uses of this plant, but I do want to focus on how it was used in the United States Civil War. During the Civil War, it was known as soldier's woundwort, and it was carried by soldiers in the Civil War in their field kits for the purpose of treating wounds during the warfare. This product would be used as a poultice. The leaves might be chewed, or it would be crushed, and it would be placed directly on the wound. During the war, yarrow tea was also used to fight fevers. Yarrow has sweat-inducing alkaloid chemical compounds that cause one to increase sweat. And one of the theories of treating a fever was to sweat it out. And so this was used and applied and practiced to reduce fevers. Now, I'm not a practicing herbalist, and I'm certainly not a doctor, even though I seem to play one on YouTube. If you're going to use some of these herbal products, it's always recommended to go to the experts. And I have to say as a disclaimer, if you use this, ask your doctor first. In foods, yarrow can impart a peppery flavor, and it has a bitter taste in small quantities. And because of its strong aroma and bitterness, this was used to flavor beers before the introduction of hops. As a native plant, it has over 100 different species of insects that feed on it, so it's a host plant to many, many different caterpillars of moths and butterflies, too numerous to mention here. And also, it's a great nectar producer. And as a native, it's fantastic for our native plants. Some gardeners use it to plant within their vegetable gardens in order to bring a balance of biodiversity and attract beneficial insects to that garden. So there's not a monoculture there of, say, aphids, but there's many predators that are attracted by the yarrow, by the nectar producing the flowers, the landing pad of the flowers, and so there's attracts these beneficial insects to provide a better balance in your garden. Furthermore, yarrow has very long roots that penetrate the soil, and so they bring nutrients and minerals up. So it's a great thing to plant, to bring in and then plow back into the garden, or to use in compost piles to enrich the mineral content of your soils for gardening. It seems to be overall deer resistant and rabbit resistant, but the same alkaloids that make it distasteful to those two animals can be toxic to horses, dogs, or cats. So you don't want those animals to be grazing on this. If you've watched my channel, you know I'm all about native gardening and planting native plants. Yarrow seems to have a great place in the garden. It's drought resistant, it's beautiful, it's perennial, and would be fantastic in a mix of other native plants to help our butterflies, monarch migration, and act as host plants for our native insects. Now, I just wanted to add a little twist to this. If you watched my episode on roses or my episode on palm trees of Ticino, Switzerland, it was filmed right here. That's actually the house that my great-grandfather built in 1901 in Ticino, Switzerland, here on Lugano Lake. And so right now, on August 27th, I'm here in Lake Lugano and Ticino talking about a plant that is native to North America, but it's also native here. So remember, if you like what I do on this channel, please subscribe, give me a like, and leave me a comment. I love hearing from my viewers. I hope you learned something about yarrow here today that was useful to you.
And remember, I cover all things nature, from
frogs, toads, snakes, turtles, the myriapoda, insects, trees, wildflowers, and fungi. I cover all the things you might encounter just outside your door. So thanks again for watching this episode of Nature at Your Door.